It's actively listening and then writing things down, frameworks of conversations and questions, little 1, 2, or 3 word little grabs from the conversation, the way they describe things. All of that is so unique to that customer. Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a 7-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. This week, we're going to go deep into the one-up. Yep, that's what it's called, a one-up. And what that means is when you're trying to build rapport with your clients, they're telling you a story and your story has to be better. All right, guys, how many listeners out there have done that? You can put your hands down now. We've all done it. And we do it to build rapport. When I was talking to Dave Esch in his episode, if you hadn't listened to it, go back and listen. But we talked about this idea of setting an expectation with clients that when you're building rapport, that it's all about them until it's not. And what I mean by that is when you're asking them like about hobbies or things that they do outside of their home or with their family. And the example that was used in that episode was that that they like to trail run. And, that Mrs. Jones might have ran 2 miles on a trail when you asked her what she did awesome lately or what's her favorite thing to do. And she said, I ran 2 miles. And the next thing you know, you reply back to her without thinking, oh, Mrs. Jones, that's awesome. I just did a trail run last week and I did 4 miles. And deep down, what we're trying to do as professionals is we're trying to build rapport, right? We're trying to build a connection. Are you like me and am I like you? Because ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, this bond, this early connection. And when it happens, and you get out there and you say, oh man, I'm not really, you don't know this, of course, but you're not really aware of what you're doing. You're just trying to connect. And you find that she runs and you run. So why not tell her where you've been? Or here's another example, like if you like to travel and you just ask them, so what did you guys do last weekend? They're like, oh, we just got back from Colorado. We were out there and we were doing a bunch of, mountain biking in the mountains. And the next thing the sales professional might say is, oh, that's awesome, and they're thinking back in their life, how do I connect with this person? And thinking, oh, well, you know what? I was just in Austria and I was downhill mountain biking as well. So I'm going to tell them about that. Oh, guys, that's awesome. I'm glad you really enjoyed Colorado. I just got back from Austria and we just did mountain biking there. You should have seen the trails. They had blue diamonds, they had black diamonds, squares, whatever they call them, but they had all these different ones. They had these jumps and all these wooden deck things you can go around and all that. And it was amazing. And each time you do that, trying to connect and you're one-upping without knowing it, you make your client feel, well, I'm going to actually ask you the question. Do you think your client feels more valuable to the relationship or less valuable in this relationship? Think about it. Ultimately, our goal in building rapport is to make them feel extremely valuable because they are. They are extremely valuable. Without them, we don't have a business. So we have to slow down. We have to talk to less people, go deeper, and say, you know what? All right. If I get the bait, somebody throws out, hey, I just hiked 5 miles of the Appalachian Trail last weekend, and you just got done hiking 25 miles with your buddies, resist the urge. Ladies and gentlemen, specifically gentlemen, resist the urge. And say, oh, that's amazing. Tell me more about that. As opposed to, oh, that's awesome. I just did 25 miles last week. Our goal in any rapport build is to make sure that they feel important and special. It is not our job and or our goal to make them feel like they're lesser than. And even though I know that's not your intent, what happens is when you try to, whether it's conscious or unconscious, one-up them, they automatically start feeling that. And if it happens more than once, say something else. Yeah, we just got done going fishing. I really enjoyed, we love to fish as a family. And you're like, so where'd you go fishing? Oh, we went fishing, the local lake here. It was really great. The kids, they're 5 and 7 and they caught a couple of fish. It was so fun to watch them pull them in. And you're thinking in your head, once again, wow, okay, cool. Hey, you know what? Maybe your family would really like going to Alaska. There is this amazing lake outside of Juneau that I went to fishing, and the fish there were incredible. The salmon, the this, the that. Resist that, please. If you want to build a connection and you don't want to alienate your clients and make them feel less than, stop doing that. And if this episode is making your skin curl a little bit because you know that's you, good. It's called awareness. Once you become aware of it, now you can finally start changing the habit, because that's all it is. It's a habit at that point. If you're not aware of it and it's just happening, it's a habit. It's habitual. So if that's the case and that's how you build rapport, instead of focusing on what you're doing wrong, start thinking about what you could replace it with. There's a lot of things you can replace it with. Maybe just active listening. Imagine that. Imagine if you could go in there and not need or resist the urge to engage with a bigger story than the one your client's offering. What if rapport was all about them? What if, as a sales professional, you don't have to sit here and think about how you're going to tap dance around and put on a show, because the show is not about you, it's about them. What if you took the spotlight off of yourself and put it on them? What if you knew what questions to ask and how to open them up without having to do the dance or feel the stress of putting on a show? That's really what a great sales process will do. It provides a framework so that you can ask questions and let the homeowner do all the work with all the answers. That's the secret, ladies and gentlemen. If they do the work, then you can be thinking about how you're going to frame the next question. And if you are the detective, if you want to get to a 75% or higher closing rate, you need to be a detective. If you want to be a detective, it's about control, self-control, and not falling for that or grabbing that low-hanging fruit or that bait that's dropped in front of you like you always have, but change it. And think of an opportunity to, instead of trying to one-up them, think about keeping your mouth shut and listening, and think about the next question you might ask, as opposed to trying to make yourself look like you understand them in a way that's even bigger than they are. I hope this is landing, guys. I decided to put a whole episode together about this because it's such a big deal. Not because it's something small that I just said, oh, what the heck, I could put a little episode together with this. No, this is massive. If you never train in sales and you never do any of those types of things for your business, you just focus on building, and you change this one thing, it could change everything for you. Because people will now be much more likely to connect with you if you are authentically and honestly interested in them by asking them questions that make them look good. Think about it. That's all it is. It's actively listening and then writing things down, frameworks of conversations and questions, little 1, 2, or 3 word little grabs from the conversation, the way they describe things. All of that is so unique to that customer. But if you're constantly thinking about how you're going to one-up them, you're not listening, you're hearing. And the difference between hearing and listening is hearing, you hear words, you hear sound, but it's not getting deep into your mind. It's not something you fully understand what they're trying to actually convey. It's more about, yeah, I stood there and listened. In your head, you're thinking you listened, but all you did was you heard the words come out of their head, but you never actually listened to what they said word for word, because you're in your mind thinking about what you're going to say next, or what story you have to add to this scenario, or how the product or service that you have is going to be excellent for them. We have to slow it down and be good listeners. As good listeners, we become much more valuable. Because at the end of the day, building a relationship is about value. What value do you bring to the table? And for most clients, they don't really get the opportunity to have an experience with a professional who listens. Because most contractors don't. They come in and they talk at clients. Clients are so used to it, they get tired of it and they say, just send me your proposal. I don't want to look at you. I just want your numbers. And I'll say at the end whether I want to hire you or not based on your numbers. And you get stuck in that downward spiral, a death spiral of the race to the lowest number. And those are the guys that don't stay in business very long. And I know that's not you. I know what you want is you want to grow your business. You want to provide for your family. You want to have weekends and nights off. You want to have freedom. That's why we got into business in the beginning, right? You can go get a 40-hour-a-week job and let somebody else deal with all the headaches you deal with all day long. But as pioneers, as warriors, we want to go out and we want to create a compelling future for ourselves. We want to create our own destiny. We want our own freedom. And the way that happens is by, believe it or not, slowing things down and listening. That's the simplest path forward. And if we can listen and be really good at listening, become that detective, know exactly what to say next, and know exactly that you don't have to wing things. Because when you wing things, there's no certainty. And if you don't have any certainty and you don't have any clarity of what's coming next, they're going to notice in you an uncertainty. And like you've heard me say 100 times before, what we're looking for is to make sure that we can create an environment where we don't have a lot of uncertainty, but a lot of certainty for them. The contractor, the design professional, the whoever you are that provides the most certainty and the most clarity of what's going to happen next has the highest possibility of getting the project. The one that brings the most uncertainty to the table, the one that brings the I don't knows, maybes, could be's, maybe, possibly type vernacular to the table, are the ones that are least trusted to be able to bring the result back to the table in the way that they've provided a promise for. So ultimately, what I'd love for you guys to do as you're listening to this episode is think about, do you one-up your clients? Do you try to build rapport by telling bigger stories than your clients hand you? My question for you is, why the hell are you even telling your story anyway? This isn't about you. If you're building relationships, it's not about you. It's about them. So imagine a future where you can work half as hard during your quote unquote sales process and get twice the amount of effectiveness. That's just by listening. Now imagine if you could throw some gas on that and really get that fire burning by having a process in place that you know exactly what you're going to ask next, know exactly how to showcase that client so that they feel like they are the most important thing in your life, which helps them open their checkbook up and listen to your recommendations and take them. Imagine a world where that's your future for your business and not chasing that, the last, the three proposals, the one that's the cheapest is going to win, the race to the bottom. What if you get out of that world of survival and get into the world of thriving? And the gap between survival and thriving is in your ability to communicate. At the end of the day, that's all it boils down to. When you learn that, at the end of the day, when you learn that skill, how to communicate, how to know when to talk, when not to talk, when to put the client on stage and when to put them off a stage and you go on stage, when you understand those timeframes and those exact lineups and what to say and when to say it, everything changes, because now you become part of a journey. You get on your journey to start mastering communication. And when you master communication, that's not just in your business. That extends all the way into how you run your teams, how you show up in your family, how you lead your family. All of those things come from communication. And as men, we need a lot of work on that. I know I certainly did. I've been spending 10 years now working in just about every fathomable possible way to learn how to become a better communicator so that I can show up better as a father, as a husband, as a leader, as a CEO, as a coach, as a friend, as a brother. Man, it's been one of the best journeys of my life. And it's not been an easy journey, but my goodness, once you become aware of these things and you learn how to improve them and grow, everything changes. The amount of work that I was doing in the past just to get a 20 to 30, possibly even 40% closing rate was absurd. And now we get 80, 90+% closing rates with less than half of the work because the client does most of the work on the conversation. You lead them. It's that simple. So if this is something that you're interested in, the last 12 minutes has really shifted something in you, reach out to us and book a call with me. Let's talk about how we can incorporate this type of a system into your business so you can take all the stress and overwhelm that comes with trying to figure out how to sell a client and learn how to build a relationship with them where they sell themselves. So if that sounds exciting to you, go down to the show notes, book a call with me, and let's solve this problem once and for all. All right, guys, talk to you next time.